All right, so I welcome everybody for today's webinar. Before I go ahead further for that, I would like to know that are you guys are able to hear me clearly and can see my screen? Just give me the acknowledge on the chat. I request everybody to just type in the chat like if you can hear me clearly. Just type yes, you can hear me and also can see my screen. Perfect. Quickly, I want everybody to do this, please. Can you just quickly do that to make sure that everyone can hear me clearly? Perfect, perfect. Thank you. All right. So, the most important thing about these webinar, what are the importance? What are bullet points? What are the agenda about these webinar? If I talk about this, so I want you to make it notice about these webinar, which is completely designed that how we can crack interview when been working as an security analyst, like in the cybersecurity specialist. So there are the several different role out there while been working into the industry in the world of IT security if I talk about it. But in this we are talking about the most demanded job role that's called as a stock analyst as a cloud security expert. So when the people get hired, right, there are certain areas are there how they get hired to the companies. What are the skill set they required while they've been starting their career into the cyber securities. So we have past 12 year of experience working with the different requirements, like what exactly the organizations are looking, what type of skill set they're looking into it, how they're going to hire. So these webinar want to give you complete detail about how it works and how it can help us to get at a better job in the industry with high paying salaries, right? So there are two things out there where the people are always ignore those two major things. What is that? Everybody need a job. Everybody want to get settled good in financial. They need uh increment. They need growth. They need security for their job. They need the job what they do it the better way. But what are the lacking part? The lacking part about finding out the root cause. The root cause is that if we need to crack a job, if we need a better job, there are the certain areas out there. There are two major parameters. The first thing is that how you good with the interview. That's very important. At the end, you may have done like plenty of certifications you have it. You have a good profile with all your resume content. Everything is good. But how your confidence while you're facing an interview. That's a very important thing is that. If you prepare yourself a better way for the interview, how that content is there, what type of content they're going to ask you, how the skill set you have it. The second important thing is that once you got a job, once you got an assignment from the organization, the first assignment you got it, how you wanna execute that, what area of skill set you require to complete that assignment. So taking into that priority, taking into the real scenario we have designed the entire content. And I'm going to walk through you today's webinar to understand what are the international standards are there and what level of skill set we required in order to get hired, whatever the company you targeted. And I repeat, on your first attempt, this is what, mark my word, on your first attempt, how you can clear your interview. Now, after this webinar, you get a clear picture. You will get measured that yes, Sheikh was talking something correct. It's possible. So I'm gonna tell you that in detail all this process. So before I get start this webinar, I want everybody make it like certain instructions for these webinar. What is that? I want your attention. I want your presence. I want you to keep it away all the distraction. I want to value your single minute, your single minute, what you're spending today. Maybe you're doing something else, but you decided to be have these webinar. You have taken out the time and you have clicked the link and you started listening me. So I want to value every second what you spend on this screen. So I want to keep it all the distractions away from you. Just be presence, make it this interactive session, and let's do start. So before I go ahead, I welcome everybody again for this webinar, and we're going to talk about the more process about how we can get the better financial stability and growth in our career. This is what the webinar is designed about it. So let me take you to that. Before I go ahead, I want you to give a short introduction about myself, like the who's the person is talking behind the screen. So my name is Sheikh Iftikhar. I'm cybersecurity expert. I work in a wide range of services. I have over 12 years of experience. I'm there into the designing, managing, implementing different security solutions, understanding the organization's assets. What are the assets are there? What are the policies need to be built in? What are the audit systems are there? How the security parameters can be get implemented? What are the critical assets are there, what are less critical assets are there, what type of priorities need to be done, what type of the sim tool can be get deployment, what are the risk assessments are there, what are the risk level can be get minimized, what are the disaster recoveries are there. So based on that my content is there, what is my experiences gained in 12 years working with multiple corporate companies, giving as a services on a consultant base to the different organization. I have global clients, that is into the Middle East, US, UK, as well as within Australia. I'll be doing the consultant services, giving them a prior service requirement on their products, on their services, how they can implement. So this is my experience on the technical process. So I have done the projects on the government, banking, healthcare, even with different multinational companies as in private sector. My work is focused on not only with the solutions for the services but also the training. Now comes are very important. So I have trained over 10,000 professionals globally, that's are from India, Pakistan, that is from United States, that can from United Kingdom, that are from Australia, Canada. We have the people from South Africa, Middle East. Like if I talk about like UAE, Saudi, we have the people from Kenya and so on. Right from the people who are the beginner or they are into mid level or they are into the expert. I have trained different people in different areas. So my passion is about empowering the people throughout the comprehensive cybersecurity education, making them into the right directions. Like if they want to achieve their goal, what type of the skill set they require, like how it can be benefit for them. So based on that, where I have delivered different content to these 10,000 plus students. If I talk about it, my personal profile, so I'm a husband, father, hacker, gamer, sports fan, as well as an animal lover. And if you want to reach out me, I have the LinkedIn profile where I always keep an update about the securities, what are the aspects are there, how the job opportunities are there, what type of use cases which I'm doing in the organization. So I keep update all the profiles. I'll be publicly posting different type of posts, like what challenges I face on the on the particular services and what solutions we have taken out that, so to make people aware about things and get learn together to increase our skill set. This is what a very short introduction about my profile. So without any delay, let's do start. So before I get start, I want everybody to just type in the chat, let's start. I want everybody to do that quickly. Let's see that how many people are actively listening me. I request everybody to just type, let's start. Oi, thank you. Shubham says, let's start. Thank you, I appreciate. Godwin, I appreciate. Let's start. Shafi, Des, great, great. I'm there with the Northern people today. Let's understand. So, the most important thing is that when I talk about the cybersecurity, to complete these webinar, you don't need to be have any technical knowledge. I don't want you to be have some complex knowledge like in coding or major things in computers. No, this skill set is enough. you know like how to click the link, you join this webinar, that's all enough. Because you're gonna enjoy. I'm gonna take you from scratch to the different level. Somewhere else, if you feel like something is not easy for me to get understand, stop me, pause me, ask me the questions like where you lacking. So we go ahead with that part. So let's do start without any delay. Let's see what is there into the cybersecurity webinar. So as we can see that when I talk about the cybersecurity, we know that the internet is growing rapidly and it has given rises to the new opportunities every field we think about it. Either it can be the entertainment, either it can be the business, either it can be the sports, it can be education and so on. We know that the services are wider. The lot of IoT things are there, Internet of Things, which we can see that lot of services that are migrated from premises to the cloud. So the cloud again becomes the more important part. There are a lot of different protections, data protections laws are there. There are different compliance. There are the different government rules has been complete when it is comes to the data security, when it is comes to the privacy concern. So when we see that internet is giving us a huge opportunities to explore a business in a different level, the same while we have one disadvantage. There are two sides to a coin. It means like one side we can see that an advantage with an internet we can get a lot of services, lot of process, but the other side if I talk about the internet has given different attack process based on the vulnerabilities. So it means like it has its own disadvantage, the cybercrime, the illegal activity committed on the internet, which is getting increased every day. This is the reason where the corporate are facing the huge challenges to make the business grow. There is a lot of attacks happens that in order to make them in financial losses, to make them as an reputation loss, it can be for them to make them as operation loss and so on. There are many things are there. So there are the different impact which happens if the cyber attack has taken place here. So how are we going to secure these organizations? How we can secure our businesses when it is running? So for that, we have the cyber security. Now, what is cybersecurity? Like we've been heading this, we know that everywhere we see the global market is there, and this is a trending market. Everybody is aware about it. Cybersecurity experts have a huge job opportunity. Cybersecurity is the very major concern for any companies. There is a huge operations that are going on in global era. If I talk about the cybersecurity, because as we can see, there is a lot of setups are there, a lot of startups are there, a lot of IT organizations. If I talk about especially Amazon, Facebook, if I talk about the Microsoft, if I talk about the Apple, so they have increased the services globally and that acts is happening. So that need to be get secure for them. They required a best expert who have a proper skill set working on cybersecurity. So we heard many times the cybersecurity, right? So what is this cybersecurity? It means cybersecurity or the information security are the technology of protecting our IT assets. So what is these IT assets? It can be your computers, it can be the network, it can be the server, it can be the application, it can be the programs, it can be the database that is from unauthorized access or attack that aim for the exploitation. It means like we are there as a cybersecurity expert, we are always protecting an IT asset in the organization. Now, what do you mean by this IT asset? How it works? So we'll see in detail in a while, but let's understand what are the major role, what is the best role which are there in the cybersecurity. So there are 40 plus different domain are there, but I'm going to take you to the state away what exactly a concern is that. We're going to understand something about the role call as in SOC analyst. We call as in security operations center. So as a SOC analyst plays a crucial role in maintaining the security of an organization information systems that can be monitoring different asset on different operations. So SOC is a centralized unit responsible for monitoring, detecting, as well as responding to different mitigation incidents in the real time. So it means like we as a security analyst are going to monitor all the activities happens on the assets by using certain tools here. So we as a SOC analysts are there to monitor the infrastructure. We are there to detect any incident happens. We're going to analyze those incidents. We're going to respond to those incidents. We're going to use multiple threat intelligence tools to gather the informations about the threat. Is a true threat or it's a false threat? Like how it happens, how we can mitigate. This is how it's working. Now, as I'm keep on saying you, there is like huge IT assets and how this is working. So let me just give you one basic idea about how these operations works. What are things is happens when I talk about the IT assets? So what are those IT assets are there? So how those IT assets can be managed? How the SOC operations can be done? So let me take you in a very simple way. So where you can get a clear picture about this. This is how it's worked. This is how the processes happens. So let's have a look on this. Now, let me just give you this idea. So here we can see that when I say that the SOC, what is SOC? The SOC monitor for sign of cyber attack. The SOC team monitor all the sign of cyber attack. Now, what are those cyber attack can be there? Let's take example, such as unusual login, strange pattern in network traffic, or anything seems that is not normal, that is out of the normal thing that is happens to the organization's asset. So we as a SOC analyst, when we spot this, we thought it that yes, there is some suspicious activities happening. There is something malicious is happening. So when we spot this potential threat, we jump into the action. We're going to investigate. We're going to investigate what is this? Is that true or false? So based on that, we're going to take an action. If it is a bad, then we're going to stop them doing this. We're going to stop causing harm this. This is how the SOC analysts work. So in a very simple way, I would like to take you to an idea about here. If you can see that, this picture, right? Over this picture, what we can have it here. What we can see that here. We can see that there is a palace here. As you can see that. This is a palace and there is a front line of security. This is a front line of security can be considered as a fort and where we can see that the soldiers are there. So these soldiers which are protecting these palace, they are protecting all the assets, all the people which are there in this asset. So I'm taking it to the mid level to get you understand, not exactly with the cybersecurity technical terms. Let's understand a very simple way. We as a first line of security as a working as a SOC. So we're going to protect our organization assets if anything happens. So we as keep an eye 24 by 7, 365 days. There is a centralized unit, always monitor all these assets. If anything goes wrong, we are there to take an action here. If anything looks something malicious or something suspicious, if we got this something is suspicious, then also we're going to take an action. So either incident happen or incident can be happen, we are the point of contact for taking care of this. So how those asset lists can be there. So let's understand that. So when I talk about the any business, right? Whenever we talk about any business is running, let's see that we have an IT firm. So obviously we have a list of asset. So these asset lists are cover 90% of organization worldwide. I'm saying that not in fact not 90, 95% of organizations have these asset list. Now, either you talk about Microsoft, either you talk about Amazon, either you talk about Facebook, either you talk about YouTube and so on. Like, any organizations, if I talk about, they have these sort of asset list. Now, what is this? Let's see that. As I said you that, the asset list as in endpoints. Now, what do you mean by these endpoints? So endpoints are nothing but the workstations that every organizations may have the workstation where the different department is working. It can be the finance department, it can be the HR department, it can be the sales department, it can be an IT department, and so on, right? So here we can see that the workstation that can be considered as a desktops, laptops, that may be a different smart devices they have it, IoT devices they have it. So this all asset can be considered as an endpoint. So any organizations have the endpoints here. Now, these endpoints are going to connect to the network. So, when they connect to the network has its own devices. So, what are these network devices can be there? Network devices can be considered as router. It can be considered as switches. It can be considered as a firewalls. It can be as a load balancing and so on. There are Like, if we see the corporate network architecture, so there are other different components can be there, but this is the major component will be there, like routers, switches, firewalls, load balancers. These are been considered as a network devices. Every organizations have the servers, right? So that can be a physical server, virtual server, cloud servers, and so on. This is can be considered as in servers where they have the premises based services or cloud based servers. We have an applications where the business run, multiple business runs on multiple applications. For example, we know very well about it: Instagram, Facebook, Amazon, Flipkart. We talk about there are different businesses running on different applications. So applications is also an asset. If I ask you like how the Amazon make their business, how they get money, how they get profit when the application is up, true or not? Just type in the chat true if it is all true. Amazon will make profit only if its application is up. Yes or no? Everyone. I want to type in chat true. Yes. Agree? So, exactly. So, as we can see that any business runs when their application is up. So, these application also been considered as an asset that is also reconsidered as a business asset. So these applications can be like in-house application. It can be considered as a third-party application. So it can be considered as a web applications and so on. So these are the applications are there. We have the database. So there are the several database. It can be MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, and so on. So there are the several database servers we have it. Different cloud services we have it. Like different regularities are there. We have like the compliance process. If I talk about it, that can be like we have something called as a HIPAA, we have like GDPR, we have the PCI DSS, we call it the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. So this is the nothing but the data protections law. So that need to be get ensured because that is comes on all the like legal consequences if it is happens if any cyber attack happen. So this is can be considered as an asset list. Now these asset lists need to be get protect. If anything goes wrong, if anything happens here on this asset, we need to take care of this. But how are we going to work on it? Now all these asset actions, whatever like the operations happens on these asset list, whatever the operations happens on these asset list are getting report to one of the tool called as a SIM tool. Now what is this SIM? SIM is nothing but is a threat detection tool. So we as a SOC analyst, 80% of your job role working on the SIM tool. So there are the several tools are there. Example, Splunk, IBM QRadar, Rapid7, that can be a Logarithms, that can be a McAfee Nitro, that can be a ArcSight, that can be Azure Sentinel, and so on. That might be a multiple tools can be considered as a SIM tool. So we work on these SIM tool, and the SIM tool are going to give us alert. Now, what is this alert? Alert is nothing but there is something going wrong. If something is going wrong, it can be considered as a malicious activity. We're going to get this alert, and these alert. For a moment, I'm not going to talk anything about the correlations rule. I'll tell you in a while. But let's see that when I talk about the SIM will get an alert if any malicious activities happens. So we're going to get this alert and we're going to investigate this alert. Now, while I investigate, there are two things happens. Once, yes, there is some risk is there. Yes, there is no risk. That might be a possibilities are there. We get an alert, but every alert will never be a risk, right? That might be a possibilities are there. So in real scenario, you're gonna see the two faces. We get an alert, we'll do the investigation. Finally, we come to know that this is not an alert. This is not a risk. I can say that, right? But there are some alert may get it, and that may intercept certain risk. So investigations will done, then we analyze yes there is an incident or not. So here we can see that that is called as a true positive for the false positive. Now true positive, risk happen. True positive means risk happen. When I say the false positive, it can be considered as a false alarm here. So after doing the investigations, we come into the conclusion: is it true positive or false positive? If it is a false positive, let's see that. So in this case, what we are going to do it, we're going to close this. So we're going to close this. So we don't gonna get taken any actions here. We're going to close these alert here. This is what where we are going to do it here. So if it is a true positive, then we're going to respond to this incident. So when we're going to close this after doing the response here. So once we done this response, then only we're going to close this. So this is how it works. A very simple operation. Now, whatever the operations happens on these asset, how the SIM is going to detect that is a malicious based on the event and logs. So all these devices will generate events and logs. Now, what do you mean by the events? What do you mean by the logs? Both are same, but what is this exactly? So whatever the operations we perform on a particular machine, that recorded in the form of events and logs. Let's see that example. If I'm using this Windows machine, right? If I'm using this Windows machine here, let me show you something about here. So if I'll show you here, we have like event viewer here. So these event viewer are going to record all the logs of my Windows machine. So that have been categorized in different form. That can be like an applications log. We can see that they can be like in security log. That can be considered as a system log. That can be like a setup log, forward events, and so on. So this is are nothing but the event which are generating by our Windows machine. So whatever the activity we perform on these device, we're going to get a notifications if something is going suspicious, if something is going wrong. So we're going to get those information. Let's take an example here. I will give you one example. I have done some login failure. Let's imagine a situation. So it generate the log for that. Let me see what is the login failure events are there on my system here. So that is the event is for the security. Here we have the event IDs. So every event IDs have been considered with some number here, okay, in the Windows machine. So 4625. The 4625 event ID can be considered for the login failure here. So if I click on this, here you can see that I have a zero login failure here. Now if I'll talk about the login success, let me see that 4624. So when I see the 4624, there is a lot of login success I have it. So I have done the login failure as a zero, but I have an account which has successfully logged in here. If we can see that. So here it says that an account was successfully logged in, and this is a security log name, and the event ID is a 4624, and this is the time. And here we can see the keyword, we can see that the computer name, and so on. If I'll see the some detailed information, something like an export if you've been viewing, so there is some information, something like that. But as if no, this is enough for to get understand. This is what the logs are there. So these logs not only generate from Windows machine, but it can be generated from multiple systems here. Either if I talk about the network device, router, firewalls, IDS, IPS, what are the security, assets we have it, servers, application, whatever the activities happens on the applications, we can see that logs also can be get recorded. So these all logs are sending to the SIM here. So how these logs will get from these devices to the SIM tool, because SIM is the centralized tool. So how we can collect this log? Let's take in a very simple example. We are there in this meeting today. So let's imagine a situation. We have equal divide people. There are some people are from India, some people are from United States, some people are there from United Kingdom. There are some of the people are from Middle East. Now there is some centralized team are there which is monitoring all these assets. So how we can collect the data from US, UK, Canada, Australia, India, Middle East, and so on. So for that we have some management process. How we can deploy this SIM tool. In order to collect the data from these multiple machines, we need to do some deployment. A set of deployment can be done based on that. All those reports will be get to the SIM tool in the form of events and logs. And that we need to correlate. Now comes to the correlations. Now correlations, it means like, let me ask you one simple question. I want you to tell this one. See, there is one user, one user is using our endpoint. Now, endpoint means what? We know very well. Endpoint is nothing but we consider that as a workstation, right? So we have something as a workstation here, this is using. Now these user have login, trying to get login. So from these user, we are getting 10 login failure. How many? 10 login failure in just 2 minutes. In just 2 minutes. What do you think? Like, it's a suspicious activity, it's a malicious activity, or it is a normal activity? What do you think, guys? It's a good or bad? See, within 2 minutes, 10 login failure, we got it from one endpoint. What do you think? It's a good or bad? In a very simple way, it's a bad activity, right? It can be considered as an suspicious activity. But how does the sim is going to know that? How does the sim is going to know that this is a suspicious activity? Because we have defined the correlations rules. Correlations rules are nothing but set of condition. So when I say the correlation, it's nothing but set of conditions. We'll see that. So there are the set of conditions. Let's take an example. So we have given that if we are getting the login failure, if we are getting the login failure more than, if it is more than 4 times, or let me make it as a 5 times, more than 5 times from the same source with different username. So that will be considered as an alert. So at this point, create alert, right? So that need to be create an alert here. So this condition, login failure more than 5 times from the same source with a different username, that create an alert. So even we have the time here also. So we can see that within 2 minutes, within 5 minutes, whatever it may be, the conditions we can see that. So how these rules can be there? I would like to tell you that in a live way, how it is works. Let's understand that. So let me just give you an example here. Okay. So this is one of my SIM tool called as an IBM QRadar. Okay, let's have a look on this here. So let me just do this login. So I'm going to take you towards how this is happens. So let's do understand this. So here I will talk all things in detail. Just have a look on this first. So if I come to the offenses here, we have certain thing called as a rules here. So these rules are going to give us the complete detail about what are the suspicious activities happening. So I'm going to click on these rules. So these rules has been grouped in a different way here. So here if you can see that the groups can be there for the different activities here. So these group can be considered as this group can be considered as the authentications, botnet, DDoS, exfiltrations, that can be the false positive, that can be a malware attack, that can be anything. So there are the different groups where we can see that here. Yes. So here we're gonna see that. Is that I'm audible? Mr. Abbas, can you hear me now? Everyone, can you give me an acknowledge? Are you able to hear me? Because Abbas just has message that is not able to hear. Please kindly see your resources. Godwin, I'm audible, right? Thank you. Thank you very much for an acknowledge. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Subham. Yeah. So here we can see that there are the different rules are there here where we can see that. So these rules which is defined here, right? Let me take one of this example. I'm going to take as an authentications here. So once I click on these authentications rules, I'm going to get it all the rules which can be there here. So I'm going to tell you about that multiple login failure from the same user here. If you can see that here, this rule, what it says that. Let's understand that first. So before that, let me just give you a brief idea about this. Here you can see that the condition says that whenever we talk about this authentications, and if I'm talking about multiple login failure from the single users, here it says that when at least 10 events are seen from the same source username in like you know 5 minutes. Let me just give you this condition in detail. Let me just copy this and put here so you get a clear idea. All right, so let me put this so you can relate this the same thing what I'm talking about it. So here we can see that. So if you see this authentication failure, is this the similar way, right or not, which the conditions we talk about it. So here we can see the authentication failure when at least authentication failure and when at least 10 events are seen with the same username in just 5 minutes, right? There are multiple conditions are there. This is one of the conditions you can see that. So these conditions can be get optimized, can be rewrite Give me an acknowledge. Can you hear me, guys? Is it I'm audible, everybody? Am I audible now? Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry for the inconvenience. All right. So let me take you back. Let's go ahead here. So here we can see that as I was talking about it. So here we can see that there is like the rules where we can be considered. So there are the several rules can be there while been working on these conditions here. So the sim tool are nothing but which collect the data from multiple sources. So these activities something like this here, if we can see that. So these are the live logs we are receiving it. So these logs are going to give us the complete informations about what type of activities is happening here. So logs are coming from multiple sources here. So this is are the log sources. We can see that there are the different event names are there. So that contain the event count, time, category, source IP, what are the source port, destination port, and so on. So these logs which we are collecting from the multiple systems, and here we're going to monitor these assets. So the logs which is going to give us the complete informations, the categories about it, what is this asset, what type of activities they're performing on these assets, right? If I'm doing the investigation, so I can do this investigations by doing the filtering. We can see the different log sources and so on. So let me just put some filter for the last 24 hours example. Let me put it. So this is for the last 24 hours. I have certain activities here. So these activities I need to group first. So what I'm going to do it, so step by step in a very simple way to get you understand, I'm just grouping this with the help of the event name here. So if I click on this event name, I can be able to see each of these activities here. So here you can see that there are the multiple activities happens here. So login failure, like Linux login messages, information messages, health matrix, unknown events, user account log, like HTTP directory traversal vulnerabilities, user account change, right, and so on. User failed to get login SSH, incorrect password. So these are the activities we have seen. Now if I want to do the detail investigations here, so let me check one of these activity as a user login failure happens here, right, to the SSH. So I can see those informations here, what type of activities are there. So one, the account is get, the user have, like a user failed to get login, incorrect password. So if I click on this, I can be able to see and I can understand what type of the username they were trying to get login here. So here you can see that this is the incorrect password happens, right? So when they have the incorrect password, they have been attempted with a certain username also. So here you can see that the username. So if I want to group this, I can do that investigations. What are the multiple username they have used here? So I just connect with this. I'm going to show you that as an username here. Now, when I click on this, I can be able to see these informations, right? So here you can see that the usernames, what are the username they have used here. So this is the list of the username, and we can see that from one username, how many times they have the attempt. So these tool are going to give us the complete detail about the investigations. If anything happens, let me see that one more incident here. Let me take it that as a virus detected. Let me just give you an example. Now it says that the virus detected, right? So if I click on this, so which system, what computer, what is the source IP, what are the destination IP, what type of the malware is that, all those detail we can investigate in detail form here. Now if I click on this first link, I can click on the second link, whatever, there are the multiple, events we got it. Now here we can see that, there is a virus detected here, and here we can see that this is the source IP, this is the destination IP, this is a source port, this is a destination port, and we can go ahead and see some more detail about that. And here you can see that there is some attachment has sent SMPD, means like there is an incoming email which contain readme.exe file. Can you see that here? So readme is not never be an exe file, means there is some executable file which may contain some malicious component here, like this can be considered as exe file. So investigations will done based on this. And if I'll tell you about this, if we'll go further process for this, right? So there are, the different network activities are there. We have a different asset list which we can create. There are the several type of, the vulnerability scans are there, server recoveries are there, asset list can be there, and there are the different network activities happens which we can see that. Even we can see and control the different admin panels here. So these admin panels which can give you the different information that's regarding to the the process what we are going to do it. We can check the system, we can see the network hierarchy, we can see this is an admin level. It's not just in security expert you've been working as a first level, but it's up to level 2, level 3 if you've been going and doing this process. How we can go for the extension management, what are the different tools we can deploy here, like if I've been working on it. So how those the tools can be used, what are the integrations can be happens. So there are multiple areas are there while been working as a security experts. So we're going to see these detail in the form as in SIM tool. So this is some of the operations which I'm talking about it. So if we've been a part of the security department, this is are the things which we need to know about: the authentications, authorization services, and there are many lot of services. Not only this tool, but there are the multiple tools are there. Like if I'll talk you about the another tool, this is in Splunk, right? So the Splunk is also a SIM tool. Now if I talk about this Splunk tool, it's going to give us the informations about all the activities happens on this asset here. So what are those asset lists, what are the search patterns are there, how we can write these SPLs, what type of the data we have it, all those information. Let me show you something. Like if you ask me to get to know about what are the login failures happens, so I'm going to take it one test here for Linux server. I'm going to take it. So Stripe, I'll be considered as a Linux server. So let me say that here I'm going to take it as a failed password. Now I want to see like how many failed password happens here. So once I click on these, I can be able to see a list of informations, right? So these informations are going to give me the detail part here. So here you can see that the failed password happens. So what is the username, what is the source IP, what is the source port, and so on. So there are the several informations where we can see that here. Either if I talk about this is as a Linux machine, either if I talk about the web applications, either if I talk about the user machines, it can be the Windows machines or it can be anything. So there is a huge informations. We can collect this information, we can write different type of correlations, we can create different type of reports here. So how we can analyze this, how we can create the different type of the database, how we can get the different type of alerts, how we can use this asset as a report dashboard, everything. So this is what where we're going to see all these features here. What is about the data inputs, what about the forward and receivers, how we can create the rules. So these rules can be based on the power user, admin user. So what type of user are there, how you going to create this permissions, if you're creating a new rule, so that can be for the admin, that can be for, can be deleted, can be power, can be the system rule, can be the user, the normal user. We can see that what are the capabilities are there, what type of indexes they can access. So this is all comes on the permissions, right? What are the restrictions can be given. So we can write different process on these restrictions for the users, resources, and so on. So there are many multiple roles where we can deploy here working on it. So if I'll tell you about this, this is the SIM tools in a very simple way. We're not going to talk much the technical aspects. I'm going to take you to an easy way because everything we are going to discuss in the scratch level. So if I'll say you that these are the things are there, this is are the possibilities are there which we are doing it, right? So as a SOC analyst, what exactly they're doing it, let me just take you to that. So what does the SOC team will do it? Let's understand this. So with these explanations, we got to know very clearly that we're going to monitor for the alerts. What are the alerts comes? As in SOC analysts are there are going to monitor on the SIM tool here. So these alerts are generating from multiple assets, and these alerts we're going to analyze. We're going to decide is it the legitimate or the bad. So let's see that if it is a legitimate, then we're going to take an the process that we can close this ticket without any further action. So if it is a legitimate, we ignore this alert, we don't need to take an action. But if something considered that as bad, then obviously we have to take an action. So these bad can be done internal or external. Now what do you mean by the internal and external? Simple way, cyber attack may happens with two sources. One is internal, other is external. External are very known about that. We know that external can be considered as an hackers, a person who are intention to harm an organizations to make their financial goal, or they maybe have a different motive, to do the cyber attack on a particular organization. That is are the external attack. Now when I talk about the internal attack, are nothing but that can be considered as the internal team where we have they are using an IT assets. That can be a sales stream, that can be a marketing team, that can be a finance team, that can be an IT team, and that can be done intentionally or it can be accidentally because of lack of awareness, like how they need to use a corporate machine. They may be going to the malicious website, or they may be connecting the different flash drives, or they may be downloading certain attachment which contain the malware and so on. That might be a multiple reasons are there. The attack may happens from internet. So if it is happens so we are there as a security expert. We're going to stop doing this bad activity. Either it can be internal or it can be an external. This is how it's going to be work. Now, let me take you the further process. Let me explain you in detail. If we'll talk about the job market, as we know, like there are the different team are there. We have like sales team, HR team, accounting team. We have an IT team that is are the developers are working front end, full stack, back end, test engineers. They are the people who have any skills with Python, Java, .NET. So this is all comes on the job market as an IT. We have an IT infrastructure team, that is all the network management team, the system engineers. We can see the network engineers, database engineers. All those have been working on the IT infrastructure. We have the backbone of any network, any organizations, IT security. So we have a team like IM team, endpoint security team. We have vulnerability assessment team. We have the network security team. Also, we have some call as a SOC team. As a SOC analyst, if we are working on the SIM tool. We are working on the SOAR. We are working on threat intelligence tools. So this is how we are working it. So we as a security expert, we need to see everything what is happens in the organizations as well as an external process, right? So I would like to take you with a very simple example here. I want I want you to relate with this as a civil engineer, right? Now, what exactly the civil engineer will do it? Can you give me an example here? What is do it? We know very well about it. Is there into the construction, right? You're going to construct the building, houses, malls, bridges and so on. We know very well about this. So while is constructing the buildings or houses, we know that there is need of a proper coordinations with an architect. He need to interact with the mason. He need to interact with the tile worker. He need to interact with the plumbers. He need to interact with the electricians. He need to interact with the painters. He need to interact with the centering team and so on. There are multiple departments are there where the civil engineer must need to get have a proper communications with them, right or not? If suppose let's take an example, there's a lack of communications happens with this team, there will be the constructions will not happen according to the plan. It will be not in a well structured, not in a proper manner. Yes or no, everybody? Just put in the chat. Yes or no, everyone. Is that so, everyone? Can you hear me? Yes. What do you mean by that, Abbas? Abbas, you can unmute as well. What is my concern question is here. If the civil engineer having a lack of communication, do you think that the constructions will go according to the plan? No. There will be a big losses, right? That
Yes, sir. It would not be in proper manner.
yes, yes, exactly. It will be not in a proper manner as we have done that. So this is just an example if we relate with the civil engineer. But I would like to take you to the cyber security. Let's talk on the subject now. So if I relate these example within cybersecurity expert, so as we can see that we as a cybersecurity expert team are there. So we there to manage, maintain, and protect our IT assets. All the organization's assets we need to protect here, right? So here what happens? So whatever happens on these IT assets, like if I talk about the HR team, if they're working, so we need to keep an eye on what they are doing it. So we're going to collect the different informations from these assets. Either it can be the HR team, either it can be the marketing team, either if I talk about that can be a network team, either it can be talk about the finance team. So we as a security expert, we're going to collect the data from these multiple team here. So we're going to collect the data from these multiple team. If anything goes wrong, we're going to take an action. So it means like we as a security analyst, the SOC analyst, we're going to monitor, detect, investigate, and respond to the cyber threat. It means like we are the first point of contact if anything happens, if anything goes wrong. So we are there to detect immediately. We're going to respond to that. We're going to take an action. And at the initial stage, we're going to stop them doing these attack or going to them, like, damage those assets. This is how we are going to work. So as a stock analyst, if you're working, we're going to take care of these assets and we're going to protect them from the different type of attack and different sort of, the informations which they gathers here. So as a SOC analyst, if we have been working, so we're going to take, the different type of attack mitigations here. So what are the type of cyber attacks may happens? So the type of cyber attacks, if I talk about it, it can be like phishing attacks, it can be like man in the middle attack, that can be considered as there are some communications points are there where, the interception happen, or it can be the DDoS attack, it can be the SQL injections attack. So where the malicious code have been going to inject to the database, that can be considered as SQL attack. That can be the zero-day exploitations can be happen. That can be unknown software vulnerabilities are there where the attackers may take an advantage and they're going to exploit. That can be a ransomware attack. So the malware that demands to pay certain ransom to get an access to the system, that can be happens. That can be a cross-site scripting, injecting different malicious script into the trusted website and through which they can get an access, or it can be the drive-by download and so on. So this is other nothing but the sum of cyber attacks which may happen. But we work as a security expert. We're going to get this sort of incidents here. So these incidents can be considered something like a malware incident. We get unauthorized access. We get phishing attacks. We get DDoS attacks. We get like insider threat, data breach. We get incident response. We get web application security incident, data exfiltrations, brute force, different security policy violations, and so on. So this is are nothing but just in a live scenario. If you'll see that this type of incident happens and we work as a security expert, we're going to protect them. We're going to see that these activities have been going to harm an organizations and we're going to take care of that. Not only this, but also, which is again very important, we're going to talk about something as in cloud. The cloud has become very important if I talk about it. If you're starting your career, either when we decided to be a part of this, what is my suggestion? You must have the cloud information. Never ever try without cloud information, because organizations are demanded to be hire you if you have a proper skill set on cloud. I have taken hundreds of interviews, but my my opinion will tell you that if you do not have the cloud in today's era, then your profile is below the average. That is what it is there. But the cloud will add you the more benefit, the more important and the strong skill set when it is comes to the cloud security, because everything is about not only just with the SOC analyst if we talk about it, but also as a cloud security if you're starting your process, so including with the SOC and cloud networking, ethical hacking, web pen testing. These are the skill set, where we work on the root cause, we work on the skill set management. So cloud is very important. Why? Because as we can see that the everyone is migrating the services to cloud, right from Netflix to NASA. If you'll see that they use the cloud services. So here we need to understand that the cloud computing environment are becoming a more rapid, that is getting it a more broader here. So organizations are increasingly adopting the cloud services to store, process, manage their data, ensure the security of those information is very important here. So cloud becomes a paramount and we need to be having an expert skill set on cloud now, which is the most demanded globally. If I talk about it, it is all about the Azure Sentinel, which is booming in the market. If you're aware about that, very very few people are there in the industry can see that the deployment. If I'll see that 90%, 70% of people, I can say that organizations worldwide, they have been deploying the services to Azure Sentinel. So the Microsoft is giving a wider range of services in the security. So that's the reason the people who have a proper skill set on the Sentinel, especially if I talk about it, like how the security experts can work, how they can manage the incident, how they can create the protection data laws, how they can create the rules, how can they deploy the different type of malwares, firewalls, and so on. Malware detections, firewall rules, firewall deployment. That's a major skill set. So cloud becomes as a very important part that is into the form of data security, availability, compliance, disaster recovery, business continuity. There are different type of governance. We have the compliance. We can see that we have like IAM access, which is very important here, right? So the cloud skill set we require, and what type of incidents happens, data protections, IAM process, security compliance, configuration management, application security. So there are the several applications are there in the cloud today, so that need to be get protected. That security patching, like DLP process, we call as data loss prevention method. So these are the required skill set when I talk about it. This is how it's worked. Now, if I talk about it, something apart from this, we know that attacks happens and the hackers will do it. So what are the type of hackers are there? So hacking is a professional for everybody, but for the good or the bad purpose that we need to understand here. So white hat hacker can be considered as a good guys. You and me can be become as an ethical hackers. We are the ethical hacker. I'm the ethical hacker. I'm a white hat hacker. So I can say that I'm a security expert where I'm going to protect an organization. I'm never gonna harm the organizations. I'm never gonna use I'm never gonna take them privilege in different way to make them loss. No, not at all. I'm a ethical hacker. No, the I'm a white hat hackers. I can say that. Now, who's this black hat hackers? These are the bad guys, which are trying to attack. They are the cyber criminals. We can see that, and in the border between the white and black, they can be considered as a gray hat hackers. So it is circumstance. It depends upon the conditions where they're going to do it. It's like a cat on the wall. We don't know where it's going to be jump. Either it can be right, either it can be left. It depends upon condition. That is how it works. So these hackers are going to attack on these assets, right? So how those assets can be protected? There would be some standard form will be there, right? Some standard rules are there, right? So that is comes as a CIA triad. We call as confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So this is very basic thing and very strong, right? If I build any security, either if I talk about application security, network security, endpoint security, either it can be the physical security, either it can be any compliance policies, whatever we are creating, that's all based on the CIA triad. This is a very standard and that need to be understand. Anything if I talk about security, CIA triad will include in that. We call this confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, what does it mean by the confidentiality? Confidentiality is nothing but whenever you get an access any services, your data should be have a proper type of encryptions. They should be have the proper type of the security. So that comes on the confidentiality. So encryption should be there. You never gonna use anything where your username or password can be get revealed, right? That is very important. Let me just give you an example here. Just give me 1 minute. Let me put one example here on the live scenario as we are discussing about this. Okay, let's go ahead here and see that if I talk about this, right? If I'm talking about these process, how it works. Now, what I'm gonna do it, I'm going to get log into the one of the applications. Let's see that how this applications works and what the things has happens. All right. Now, when I click on this applications, you can see that there is something is called as what is this? What you can notice here, guys? Can you see this here? Not secure, right? It says not secure. Now, if I click on this, it says that your connection to this site is not secure. You should not enter any sensitive information on this site, like example, the passwords, or it can be the credit card, it can be anything that can be stolen by an attacker. So what I'm gonna do it, let me see that how these attackers will do it. Because all this data is going into the plain text here. So I'm gonna open one of the tool called as a Wireshark. Okay, so let me just open this tool as a Wireshark here. Now going to capture the different packets here. So I'll just connect to my network. So here we can see all our transaction is happening here. Okay, now what I'll do it first, I'll go to here and click on this login. Let me do this login here. sheikh@techgeek.com. Now I'm gonna use my password. So here I have put my username and password. I click on the login and you can see that the login has happened here, right? Everyone? Yes. Can you see this login? It has happened. Just type in the chat yes or no. Everyone. Yes. So we can see that the login has happened. Now, the thing is that let me open this tool here, which I'm capturing the packets here. Now what I'll do it, I'll click on the stop. I'll go to the stats. I'll go to the protocol hierarchy. Now I'm gonna select something called as HTTP, like Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Right click on this, select and close this. And here you can see that there is something login has happened. So you can see that. So that has happens on these. This is my computer, 192.168.29.34. If you see that this is my computer, let me just give you some more informations on that. So if you'll see that if I open my command prompt, now if I type ipconfig, so here we can see that my computer IP address is 192.168.29.34. Like that's how it's coming, like 29.234. So here we can see that the same thing, 192.168.29.234. And here you can see that then destination IP. Now here it is a login happens. So I just click on this login. Now here, if I'll just scroll down here and can give you some informations about it here. Can you see that here? The username and password, right? It is revealed here. So do you think like it's a good or bad? It's bad because this data is not confidential, right? We're not able to maintain any confidentiality here because the data like your username and password can be get hacked by an attackers. So this is what we need to understand, that whenever we design the security, it's based on the CIA triad. We call as confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which is plays major role in the security. So while we design, this is the major aspect. So confidentiality, making your data is trustworthy. It is like whenever I talk about it, whenever you're going to use any data, it should be go privately. It should have a proper encryption. So it should have a proper logarithm, the security logarithms, we can say that. Integrity, obviously, that is tampering. The data should not be get tampered, that should not be get changed. And if I talk about the availability, service should always available 24 by 7 365 days. The service should always available, that is called as an availability here. This is how the CIA triad will be there while we talk about it in the detail. Okay, so we're going to see that more detail. So this is implement, either if I talk about authentication process, either if I talk about the authorizations, either if I talk about the encryptions, vulnerability, audit compliance, network security, terminal security, like it can be the container security, API security if I talk about it, either if I talk about the third party security or disaster recovery. So the data security, when it is comes, the term we call as data security or information security comes, that's a very important to know that it comes on based on the CIA triad, we call as confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Based on that, this systems has been designed. Now if I take you to the some of the real facts here. So what are the salaries are there? So according to the Forbes, the minimum salary as 1 lakh USD dollar, like when it is talk about the security expert has been going in. So this is at the average salary for the people who are going to start their career into the security. This is at the very minimum salary where I can say that. But in fact, in today's area, if you'll see that, like there are the huge organizations are there like EY, Google, KPMG, like PwC, Microsoft, Infosys, and so on. Many companies are been hiring the experts here, and my students are working in these global companies. I would like to share you some of the basic areas here where you can understand what level of the process are there and what is the feedback of my existing students. I would like to share you one or two testimonial videos where you can understand how they are working into this. So this is one of my student, who have achieved recently with a good package of salaries here.
Hi, I'm doing the cybersecurity course with Tech Geek, and it's an amazing, very
Give me an acknowledge. Are you able to hear me? Hear this video sound? Is that the audio is available to everybody? Can you hear this? Just put in the chat yes if you can hear. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
informative and practical course. I found that not only am I gaining knowledge, but also doing practical steps that would be applicable in the job. And I highly recommend it. The tutors as well as the consultants have been very, very responsive and very accommodating for every life event. So I do recommend that you take this course. Okay.
Hi everyone, good morning. Myself Mukhtar Ali. I just wanted to inform you that this training was worth every single penny, and the trainers were not only knowledgeable but they are passionate about the cyber security. They made learning very easy, enjoyable, and practical. The team they are providing the services are excellent, so I just highly recommend everyone to join this course. Thanks, TechGeek.
Hello everyone, my name is Waliu. I'm a former student of Tech Geek Institute in Hyderabad, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I got to know about Tech Geek Institute on Facebook. I saw their ads on Facebook and I picked their phone number and I reached out to one of their coordinators who helped me with registration and making payments. I started in January 2023 and I finished in May 2023. What I can say about Tech Geek is, to me, to be honest, it's a very good place for you to learn about cybersecurity, especially for people that are new in the field who is looking to break into cybersecurity. Tech Geek is a place where they will teach you from basic to the advanced. I didn't really know much about cybersecurity when I joined Tech Geek, and I was able to learn from the basic until the advanced level. All the lecturers there and the coordinators they're always ready to help. They always listen to their students in terms of questions and concerns. If you have any questions and concerns, once you reach out to any of the lecturers, they are always willing to help on time. And I would highly recommend Tech Geek to anyone who is looking to break into the field, because after the whole program, they also help with resume preparation and they also connect with employer. And so if you're looking to break into the field, it's a place where I would highly recommend. As a matter of fact, after my own program, I also recommended a friend who is currently doing a program with them now. And I also have a lot of people who were asking me about how their program is, and they are also willing to try the school. So for me, like I said earlier, it's a very great place for you to learn about cybersecurity if you want to learn from basic to advanced, and possibility of getting a job after the course. Yeah. And they also help with interview preparation. Yeah. So I would recommend to anybody who wants to learn about cybersecurity. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much. So this is what, the feedback from my existing student, who have achieved a very good salaries and they started their career into security. And this is what the possibilities are there. Now, the most important thing is that, when I go for the further, like the people ask me, or you have a question, right? Why we need to start the cybersecurity? There is a huge other fields also there, but I'll tell you that why, because we know that this is always make us the more priorities, and this is what where you can see that the security of your job is very important. So once you start your career, you have to be there into the same streamline and also growing your career into the next level. So I must say one thing, like this is the time where you have to take a correct decision towards any adversity when it is comes to on our way, because we need to be a very strong. That's in case of financial, in case of like skill set, in case of opportunities, in case of helping the people, so this is where you can see that they give you the huge opportunities. And the second most important things which I'll tell you that this is the demanded skills. If I'll see that in 2030 vision, if you have it, it's going to take you to the next level. This I can say you that, the people who have a skill set in security, their demand is very different in coming market. Now, if you ask me, what are the requirement to become a cybersecurity expert? I'll tell you some of the fact. The myth is that the people have it, they should be have a good coding skill, they should be have good programming skills. I must say no. All things we have the complete roadmap to from scratch to advanced, how we're going to take you to that journey. So you don't need to worry about it, you don't need to be have any coding skills. The second important questions like education background, they said like I'm from non-technical background, can we start? Yes, of course you can start. Even the people are from the doctors, they are from medical industry, they are migrating their service to their experience to the security, they're trying out the security, because this is given huge opportunities for the people to work in. The second thing is that all the companies want to secure the data. This is one of the reason, and for that, it's a global job market with high paying salaries. Either you may be there anywhere, you want to work remotely, you want to work on live, you want to go to the site, whatever. Like you have multiple opportunities where we have it while working on the stock. Now comes how we can help you out. What are the skill set are there? So in order to achieve you, we are going to give you the complete process, the complete method from scratch to advanced. Let me give you some idea about this. So if I talk about the live sessions, which is we are doing it right. So when I talk about these live sessions, where you can understand that, whenever we are talking about it, whenever we are seeing that, so here we're gonna give you the complete live sessions on the networking part. We have the complete training on the networking, which is required as a stock analyst if you've been working. And the second thing is that where you can see that when I talk about it, like SOC analyst, everything, whatever we do, level one, level two, level three, you can understand about that. We're going to talk about the cloud security. Again, it's very important for us to know about this. And the most important part, your interview preparations. So how are you going to start? What are things are there? What are the process are there? Which we need to understand here. So what I want you to do is start your new year with the new resolutions that make your career into different way. There's a great future, when you've been starting your career. So this is the time where you can take it something into the different way, and let's make these 2025 getting started with good opportunity with a good of skill set, and take that into the next level. So this is what I want you to get it migrate now. Make it minimum 30% hike in your salaries when you start with a new job with a new skill set. These are the possibilities. Yes, this is possible. This is going to be happens. So this is what where we are doing it, but we're not going to stop here. I'm going to give you something more than that. Now, what does? So, these are the live sessions. Let me give you something which is always you have a recording for this. What is that? So, some are the special, training towards the ethical hacking. So these are the video based actually, this is an compliment session for you to get understand about all the ethical hacking, right from lab setup, everything designed in a very structured manner, and you're going to take it in a very easy way. And also the web pen testing, we call it a web application penetration testing. This is what where we're going to do it. Now if I take you to the tools, what are the list of tools we are covering. So we're going to cover, this is in the live sessions like Splunk, IBM QRadar, Rapid7, Wireshark, Microsoft Azure Sentinel by using the cloud security, Nessus, and threat intelligence. So this is our, I must say, there are 20 plus different tools are there in this complete package, what we are talking about it. So I want you to take it decisions. This is the current and next big market. It's decisions with you guys, whatever you feel like how it works. So that makes very good sense for us to start at good opportunities whenever it is coming on it. So this is the way where you can help you out. We can see that what are the things are there, what are things as happens. So we're going to discuss that in detail. All right. So we have the one-to-one discussions. We have my team, by consultant. The senior consultant is connected to you, Mr. Sohel. It's going to help you out with a lot of parameters, lot of queries, and he have successfully completed almost I can say 5,000 plus profiles. The one person has handled people different areas, so he's there for the point of contact if you have anything, if you have any concerns. So it'll be very quick response to you. and going to give you a lot of solutions, lot of help on that, like during the training, like between the training, after the training, whatever the requirement are there. My team member is always active and they connected with you to help you out to get the benefit on this. And regarding the time, regarding the process, everything, like how much time it will take, it is, I can tell you that the entire content which we are going to cover in around 60 to 65 days. Monday to Friday sessions are there according to the Indian time. We can see that like Monday to Friday sessions we have it. It's a live session. It may take like it, I can say that like in between 60 minutes to 90 minutes, like sometimes it may take 2 hours also. It depends upon the topic what we are going at, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy that, and you're going to take that in a very easy way. We're going to tell you everything, advanced level of skill set with an easy manner. That's at the skill set, that's at the process of understanding. We not go with higher level to explain you. We'll go to the like the level what we have it right now, the level which we need to understand, the from basic level to the advanced level. We're going to give you the hands-on, like help to get you understand the topics. And this is all are the practical, 90% practical session. I'm gonna take you that my word. This is 90% practical session with live tools integrations on your system. We are going to set up the lab and going to do it. And what are the theoretical concepts we're going to cover? That's are required to get understand the practical. So that is all connected with the practical scenario only. So this is how where we're going to do this. Now, if you have any questions regarding to anything, please make sure that to be clear, or if you have anything, just you can just unmute and can talk to me. And Mr. Sohail, is that possible? Can you just put the WhatsApp link in the chat so people can join? Those are interested for the next process and can get connect with you. So this is all are the complete practical sessions which we are going to discuss on the real-time scenario based tool integration, everything, lab setup, all we're going to get it on it. All right. So we got it like in the chat. If you can see that there is a WhatsApp link are there, you can just click on that link and can join the WhatsApp group. So you will get all the updates like about this batch, like how this batch is going to be happens, what other things is are there. So we can click on this link and can join this group, and you will get all the update. Mr. Soil is going to give you that update regarding the next process. All right, so thank you. I really appreciate your time spending with me. I really enjoy talking to you guys. Have a great day. All the best for your coming future, and see you on board on like Monday. Mostly like my team is going to give you the new link for the sessions, and we're going to continue with that. So thank you very much for listening me. Have a great day. Thank you very much. And I repeat again, you've been getting an individual WhatsApp also from my team. Like Mr. Soil is going to send you that detail, and you can connect with that as well. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.